What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday was absolutely crazy online. After Microsoft announced a pretty significant price hike, tons of backlash came in. I mean, we're talking about people saying they were canceling, even showing screenshots. The page for it was struggling, and even large retailers taking shots at Xbox. Again, it was pretty crazy. We're going to go over everything happened there here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Sony as they disclose some pretty big numbers for PlayStation that were outright kind of shocking, actually showing the position that they're in right now going towards the PlayStation 6. And while we're going to be talking about price hikes, let's talk about some cheap games as well, because there is a pretty big Steam sale going on that's not just about the software, also about some of the hardware. All of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Digimon Storytime Stranger. It's a game that's out tomorrow on the 3rd. There's a couple other games that came out today, but it's just a lot of games dropping right now. But this Digimon game is one that I was kind of interested in. Digimon Survive didn't necessarily do it for me, but I saw this one seemed to lean more into kind of just the RPG, or I guess like turn-based RPG kind of style, and so it caught my eye. Well, we have some of the reviews that have come in now. We can see this over on Metacritic, currently sitting at a 78. Now, that's on 28 positive and 8 mixed. We can take a look at a couple of the reviews with, let's see, The Outer Haven gave it a perfect score, saying it's a must-play video game for fans of the series and newcomers alike. It has extreme complexity in the Digivolution and personality system, but it is also super easy to get your hands on and play. Take a look at Game Grin. They say Digimon Storytime Stranger combines nostalgia for fans of the anime series with fun combat and an emotional roller coaster of storyline. It's the perfect entry point for new fans and one that shouldn't be overlooked. I mean, I do like the idea of, I haven't really followed Digimon super closely for a little while, so the idea of being able to jump in and it's something that's approachable is nice. Going to the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Gaming Bolt giving it a 60, saying the newest title in the Digimon Story series offers an awkwardly told story with underwhelming characters but solid combat. Game Rant also gave it a 60, saying Time Stranger does some things right, but its repetitive quests and dungeons drag the experience down significantly, to the point where it becomes almost a chore to play at times. Still, hardcore Digimon fans may be able to overlook even its most glaring flaws, as the game was completely built with love for the franchise. So I'll pick this game up, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to it. That's the problem right now. There's so many games that I'm trying to play all at once. Throw this one in the pile, it's like, it's going to be tough. But eventually I will get to it at some point. Feels more like a handheld game to me, but maybe that's just because I played a lot of the other Digimon games I played on the Switch one and then also on the Vita, but I'll get a chance to check this one out at some point, maybe later on this year. Also, Marvel Cosmic Invasion looks awesome. It's like that retro-style beat-em-up arcade game with a bunch of Marvel characters. Now it looks like there's a demo you can play. This is over on Steam Next Fest, we can see, with some of the details even for it. 2 playable levels, the streets of New York City and Clash on the Helicarrier, and then 9 heroes to choose from. They have Spider-Man, Wolverine, Storm, She-Hulk, and more. It's fully co-op, so you can team up locally or online with the demo. They said double the destruction, and there is Steam Deck support, so it is fully optimized for portable play. Really cool stuff to see this just kind of pop up. I mean, I'm going to be picking this game up immediately when it drops. It looks awesome. It's still slated to come out later on this year across all platforms, but really cool to be able to get a chance to play it a bit early here with 9 different characters. Oh, and if you're someone who's been playing Warframe on the Switch 1 and upgraded to a Switch 2 recently, we have some details on a Switch 2 version for the game. In fact, there was some footage that was shared for it here, and they say it's gonna have faster load times, the stuff they highlighted during their stream, higher shading quality, improved frame rate, and more. They did mention that 60 FPS was the target here for the Switch 2. Unfortunately, there's just no information yet as to when it'll be released, so we'll just have to kind of keep an eye on that one. But good news there for Warframe fans who are playing it on the Switch 1. There will be a Switch 2 version sometime in the near future, and that's what I figure for a lot of these free-to-play titles. As people move from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, they'll want to make sure there's an enhanced version there ready to go take advantage of the new hardware. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Microsoft and a ton of backlash that hit them after they announced that there would indeed be a price hike for Game Pass Ultimate. Now, word started to spread early on in the morning yesterday that this was going to be a thing, but we weren't really sure the pricing. Many people were speculating, oh, a $5 jump to $25. No. Microsoft went a step further and, honestly, caught a lot of people off guard with this thing. So we can see this card that they put up over on their news.xbox.com site. I did an entire video that was much longer than this section going over a lot of this stuff and some of the ramifications as to where Microsoft is placing themselves right now in the market. So if you want to hear more about this whole thing, just check that video out on the channel. But we can see the card, and so the card itself, it looks really weird. People have been pointing this out. Not the best marketing slide for this whole thing, but they now have 3 tiers for Game Pass. So we have Essential, Premium, and Ultimate, all right? So Essential is their Game Pass core, basically, at 50 plus games. It's on PC, console, and cloud. It's $10 per month. They do have cloud gaming that they've added to this, and that was a big thing, big push. Cloud gaming across the board here. They also mentioned that that's seeing an upgrade to 1440p, so resolution getting better. I haven't tested latency or anything like that, but I would assume it's just an upgrade in general for cloud gaming as it is leaving its beta phase. They also mentioned in-game benefits, including for Riot Games, online console multiplayer, that's still a thing, yes, and then you can play and earn up to $25 a year in store with rewards. That was another big point of contention. The rewards program has been altered to where there appears to just be a limit for how much you can earn in a year then, either $25, $50, or $100. We have Premium, which is 200 plus games. That's PC, console, and cloud. They say that new Xbox published games within a year of launch, there's a little asterisk there you'll notice, and the fine print all the way at the bottom mentions this excludes Call of Duty. So let's say, okay, Black Ops 7, all right, that's out here pretty soon. But that's not necessarily something that will go into Premium within a year of launch. That could be something that goes in years from now. So they kind of try to slip that one past a lot. Even I didn't necessarily even notice that right away either until I did look at the fine print down there and tried to figure out what that little star was for. Unlimited cloud gaming with shorter wait times, in-game benefits, online console multiplayer, and you can earn up to $50 a year. The big thing that set this whole thing off online is Ultimate tier now at $30 a month, 400 plus games. All right, so they have the 75 plus day one games a year. That includes all Xbox published games day one. So this is your day one release tier. All right, you have to pay $30 per month. And they have Ubisoft Plus Classics, EA Play, that was already there. But then Fortnite Crew, which is a subscription service to Fortnite that will give you 1,000 V-Bucks a month. Then you get access to that monthly battle pass. I think there's a few other perks in there, but it's just geared towards Fortnite, all right? Unlimited cloud gaming, best quality, shortest wait times, in-game benefits, online console multiplayer, and then play and earn up to $100 a year. So, as I mentioned, there was immediate backlash to this. They put out this video, what's new and what's changing with Xbox Game Pass. Absolutely obliterated with dislikes. It's like 7,000 likes to 23,000 dislikes when I checked. Yeah, it was basically them just explaining the tiers, and people seem to catch on to that one. And when this was going down, people did kind of stop and reflect and go, wait, do I need Game Pass Ultimate at $30 per, is that a thing? Because how many games am I really going to play, realistically going to play in a year? Would it be better off if I just bought the games? That's where we are now. That's how far Microsoft has pushed this. So much so that I noticed people who are big Xbox fans, like Brad Sams, posted a picture of them canceling their subscription, turning off recurring billing. All right, and it got to a point where some accounts like Wario64, and this blew up online big time, that the website to cancel Xbox Game Pass subscriptions is overloaded and wasn't loading or rendering correctly there. Now, I saw some people say, yeah, the website's just not very good. It does that at times, but I saw a lot of people saying, hey, I have to try many times now to get this thing to populate, more so than usual. And that's led people to then look at it and go, okay, yeah, people might legitimately be canceling their Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription. Now, you could drop it down to that essential tier, because that's what you need to play online, and then just buy the games that you want that year with the difference, right? I could see that. I do think there are some people who are going to find value still at $30 per month, especially if they play a lot of games. Sure, I get that there. But you even have GameStop, right? They posted this up, saying Game Pass $29.99 every month, own nothing. GameStop, buy once, own forever. Math isn't that hard. And this is the realization people are coming to. They're going, wait a minute, it's $360 a year. which, hey, maybe that's the kickoff for the Xbox 360 anniversary happening here soon. It's 360 a year. There we go. It's all lining up. People are now realizing, oh, that feels like a lot of money for Game Pass Ultimate all of a sudden. I felt like we were already kind of up against the glass there with $20 per month, all right, $240 a year. Because I brought this up during the podcast. The guy asked Sean, I was like, what if it was 25? What if it was 30? And he said, I think I'd be out then. Here we are. We are at the $30 mark, jumped 50% overnight. But if you think about it, a year ago was $17, $18 a month. This has moved quickly. A few years ago, it was $15. When it first launched in 2018, it was $10 per month. Really, all this tells me is Microsoft is done with the user acquisition phase, and now they've moved on to just, we're going to make as much money as we can for the people who stick around. Maybe in their mind, if they raise it 50%, but then they lose 25% of the subscription base, they're still coming out ahead. But then you're also probably not going to grow that much. So that, to me, leaves Microsoft in a very weird in-between space. They're not necessarily going all the way with Game Pass to where they don't mind if they don't sell any copies, but they're also not going all the way to where they completely dedicate everything to just a subscription service. But they still, because they still want to sell the games, but then they also don't have that subscription service, I think, at a price point that makes sense for many, many people out there right now, especially as things get more and more expensive. This was the best deal in gaming, according to many people, even myself included. The value was there. The Xbox Series S, $300. Game Pass Ultimate, $15. Easy recommendation. Now, almost $400 for an Xbox Series S new, and $30 per month for Game Pass Ultimate, or $306 a year. Not an easy recommendation anymore. So I'm not really sure what this means for Microsoft going into next generation, but right now, it's not looking great online. Next up, let's talk about Sony at Tokyo Game Show, as they had this entire presentation really just showing off how great they've been doing for the PS5 generation, which is interesting because they've also raised prices for their subscription services, not to the tune of Microsoft, but they've still been going up. And hey, maybe that's how they've been doing so well, right? Things are just more expensive than they've ever been. Well, we can see this is over on IGN. We also have an image right here of Nishino and standing in front of a big chart that shows how much better the PS5 is doing. But they say, according to Nishino's presentation, Sony's Game and Network Services division, which includes Sony Interactive Entertainment, has generated $136 billion in sales during the PS5 generation so far, 2020 onwards. This surpasses sales made during the reign of all previous Sony consoles, making the PS5 the most successful generation to date. SIE CEO Hideaki Nishino says, we think that PlayStation is not only the hardware, not only the games, but the overall experience. With the evolution of the store, we have continued to push the limits of play. We strive to be the best place for players to play and for creators to publish. I mentioned that little slide they have there of all the previous generations. You're just going to have a really hard time comparing PlayStation, PlayStation 2, or PlayStation 3 to the current climate when it comes to selling games, because as they mentioned, the store experience is just so much more robust, to where games don't even have to cost you money up front, and they can still end up being like the biggest profit generator, bigger revenue generator, something like Fortnite. The PS5, and then with this crossover with the PS4 2020 onwards, it's just making so much money from that digital storefront that aren't even PlayStation games. It's just hard to compare that with inflation. I get that they want to show off the raw numbers because it just makes what they're doing right now look really, really good from a business standpoint. There's just a lot of missing context here. But, I mean, hey, eventually they'll get to the PS6 generation, and then it'll be time to compare to the PS5 generation when they had the whole, the COVID boom with people staying inside and buying games and looking for entertainment wherever they could while staying at home. And that certainly boosted profits and revenue. So how will that work out when the PS6 releases and it doesn't necessarily have that kind of a climate to rely on? That'll be the big thing, because right now a lot of these comparisons just don't really make a lot of sense without the added context. Next up, let's talk about the Steam Autumn Sale that is currently ongoing. This will be running until October 6th, so you still have almost a week or so, close to that, to check out some of these games. And I went through a wide range of prices because, yes, the nice thing about Steam sales, like seasonal ones, is that they can get really, really cheap for certain games. Talking about a couple of bucks per game, all right? And here's the other fun part. It's not necessarily just software, as the Steam Deck itself has gone on sale, and when you look around now at the prices of consoles and even handhelds, that's downright cheap. So, you can see, It's currently coming in at $320. That's for the 256 gigabyte LCD model. So no, it's not the nice OLED model with 512 gigabytes, but you also are paying just over $300, and that then being compatible with a lot of these games in the sale. They even have an entire section for just Steam Deck games. You can kind of start to see the value then. So we'll start here. We'll just scroll through the pages and pages they have of autumn sales. Resident Evil 4, that's the remake at $20. Red Dead Redemption 2, $15. Ready or Not, $25. God of War, $20. Spider-Man Miles Morales at $25. Days Gone at $20. Hogwarts Legacy, $12. Witcher 3 at $8. Master Chief Collection, a lot of Halo games here for $10, I'm telling you. Hades, that's $6. No Man's Sky, which is way different than when it first came out. So many updates have hit this thing that have just been free. That's $24 then. Stardew Valley at $10. Monster Hunter World, some people still prefer that over Monster Hunter Wilds. That one is $10. Disco Elysium Final Cut at $10. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. A lot of Mass Effect here. A lot of value with these collections, guys. $6. Hitman World of Assassination. Kind of same thing there with a lot of content at $6. Control. That one's $4. Sniper Elite 5. $5. Code Vein at $6. Far Cry Primal at $3. Doom Eternal at $4. And Rise of the Tomb Raider at $3. And there are still just pages and pages and pages of sales. So if there are any games specifically you want to point out, feel free to do so down below in the comments. And in our last bit of news, we have a bit of an update around the EA buyout that's happening. And this is mostly about the leveraged part of it. And people are very nervous when they see that because they start to wonder if this is all pre-planned to where EA is pretty much just going to crumble underneath of the $20 billion worth of debt. So we can see this from Jason Schreier. He says, my colleagues at Bloomberg report that the $20 billion in debt in the EA deal is expected to be rated single B, meaning it is considered a junk loan or one that is high risk and speculative, typically offering high interest rates, which the new EA will have to pay. Yeah, this has been the thing that's people have been going back and forth on. It's like, okay, the deal was, we had more than half of it was put up in just outright cash, but then $20 billion in debt. And we've talked about things a lot like Toys R Us with these leverage buyouts where they're unable to pay down the debt while also maintaining the cost of just running a company. Again, that was more, they had full like big box retail stores that had to have constant flow of stock and merchandise. Little different, yes, for development of games and the microtransactions that ensue and how that's more of a recurring revenue without having to fully stock the shelves at all times. But, I mean, high interest rate, debt sitting at $20 billion, those aren't going to be cheap payments to make, and that's the biggest concern. Can EA clear the $20 billion of debt? That we'll see, because they're certainly going to try, I'm sure, and that probably means you're going to see that influence in many different types of games, certainly in things like Madden and FC and anything where microtransactions can find their way in. I feel like they're going to become a bit more aggressive in that because they kind of have to with that kind of money sitting over them. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, do you currently have Game Pass? It can be any tier. 74% say no, 26% say yes. Saw a lot of people in the comments say, hey, I canceled it. That price hike, 50%. I'm not doing that. And yeah, again, you start to sort of rethink things like, wow, it jumped 50%, which I mean, 50% from 20 to 30. Okay, you go, okay, $20, $30. It's $10. But then you go, wait a minute, that's over the course of a year, that's $120. You start to think, oh, that's like 1.5 games if we're doing the $70 or $80 games. And then you can keep those games. So if your subscription runs out, the games don't go away. So people are starting to think a bit more about this because of where the pricing is sitting. It's not as much in the impulse buy territory where it was 10. You could even say $15. No, $30 a month. You're going to think a bit harder about that. And we'll finish up with the comments of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Arc Genesis, who says, I can't believe you dismissed Blue Dragon like that. So, okay, Blue Dragon, I didn't want to dismiss it as, oh, they would never do anything with that. It's not worth doing. No, it's not that. It's Akira Toriyama did the character designs, a lot of the artwork and stuff. And you go, is that something they can still continue on now that he's passed away? I guess they could. There are many people who can still adopt that same style, but my concern would be they just get away from that style completely and they just do something way different. And then it doesn't even feel like Blue Dragon. So I think there's more of a chance or more of a risk for them to attempt another Blue Dragon game as opposed to attempting another Lost Odyssey game. Where, yeah, they can play around with some of the art style there, but it's not as iconic as what Akira Toriyama's, his art was, especially in something like a Blue Dragon where it was immediately noticeable. But hey, if they want to take a shot at Blue Dragon and maybe they can do their own kind of spin on that art style, then I wouldn't mind seeing it. I don't know if that's the first thing that's going to jump off the page to them when Lost Odyssey might fit in a bit easier for them with development. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear more about this Xbox Game Pass price hike that's now happened. I did an entire video on that yesterday in the afternoon. I'll leave that right below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.